Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sagicor's Find Your Happy Road webinar. This evening, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Donald Austin, President and CEO, Sagicor Life Eastern Caribbean, Inc., Belize, the Dutch Caribbean and Individual Life, Ms. Asha Nabi, Assistant Vice President, Marketing, Ms. Krystal Tomlinson, this evening's featured speaker, Mr. Brenton Hilaire, Agency Manager, Dominica, Mr. Javon Thelman, Sagicor Advisor, Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Caleb Welch, Sagicor Advisor, Barbados, other members of the Sagicor Life Inc. team from across the Southern Caribbean, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Sagicor team for this Find Your Happy Road webinar. My name is Georgina Callender. I am the Social Engagement Officer at Sagicor, and I'm excited to be your facilitator for this evening's event. This evening, we are talking about finding your happy road. What does it look like? How do we manifest these goals and dreams that lead us to finding our happy roads? How do we overcome those fears to live our best lives? Lives that are authentic to us, that help us live out our purpose. I have the pleasure of sharing the virtual stage with some amazing people, including some of our Sagicor advisors from across the Caribbean. They'll be taking part in this evening's panel discussion on how we can help you with your goals, dreams, and paving that happy road. We also have our featured speaker, the lovely, amazing, and multi-talented Ms. Krystal Tomlinson. I'll tell you a little bit more about her later on this evening, but I can guarantee you that you will leave energized, uplifted, and inspired. This evening, we're also giving away 3 gift certificates to Masterclass. That's right, 3 lucky people will walk away with this evening with 6-month gift certificate to the streaming platform that allows you to learn from people who are the best in their field, from business to acting or photography. Stay tuned to find out how you'll be one of our lucky winners this evening. So who'll be walking away with a Masterclass gift certificate? So let's get the ball rolling. We're going to open today's session with a video. This video is dedicated to hope and why we keep pushing forward despite the difficult times that may surround us. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screen.
Sometimes the things that tear us apart are the ones that unite us and bring us closer together. Sometimes the darkest of night turns into a day so bright, leaving the scars and the pain, everything that we fear behind us. Where there is life, let's keep on dreaming. Where there is love, let's find new meaning. Where there is hope, keep on believing, keep holding on. So never give up through wind and storm, 'cause after the rain, there'll be a calm. Sunshine of a new day, it won't be long. Keep holding on.
A message from Sagicor.
What an inspiring and heartwarming video. I believe it really sets the tone for what we wish to accomplish this evening. Here at Sagicor, we aim to always inspire you to look ahead brightly to the future with hope and optimism. Now at this time, we will move on to this evening's first speaker. I'm pleased to invite Mr. Donald Austin, President and CEO Sagicor Life Eastern Caribbean, Inc., with responsibility for Belize, the Dutch Caribbean, and Individual Life, to present his welcome remarks. He will be followed by our main speaker, Ms. Krystal Tomlinson, and then on to our panel discussion. Mr. Austin, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure this evening to welcome you on behalf of the Sagicor family to our Find Our Happy Road seminar. Today's webinar really demonstrates Sagicor's continued loyalty as a partner in not only your financial success, but also your overall growth and development. Our excellent products and services, along with the expertise of our financial advisors, will provide you and your family with the kind of opportunities that smart financial planning brings. Certainly at Sagicor, we are pleased to join you on life's journey. I will be your helpmate through both the good times and difficult, as well as help you navigate the highs and lows of life. The last couple of years has been challenging. As human beings, we had 2 years of dealing with COVID, and it continues. But today's event is somewhat of a give back to you from us at Sagicor, as we all seek to reconnect, reimagine, and redefine our purpose and how we move forward following one of the most difficult periods of our time. Even as we seek to rebuild, we want you to always be cognizant of the fact that whatever life's challenges, Sagicor is even well prepared to assist. At 181 years old, we've really seen our fair share and been through quite a bit of ourselves. But it's our pleasure to utilize the wise financial thinking for which we have become known to your advantage. COVID really has pushed us to ask some of the most significant questions. Is our road ahead secure? Where do we want our road to lead us in the next few years? How sound is our future and how well is it paved? Ask your questions and ask yourself those questions. Do so with a full 360 view. Truly examine the needs of yourselves and your loved ones and see how your career fits in with your plans. This evening, we have aimed to meet you halfway and help you to make some of those decisions. We brought you a speaker that we also at Sagicor have been inspired by. Prepare yourselves to be inspired by Krystal Tomlinson as she talks about how facing our fears can help us create the kind of life we want for ourselves and our families. She will share tools to improve your goal setting and create a roadmap to success. Take notes as our panelists, our very own Sagicor advisors, also join in the conversation, as they outline the ways in which our goals can become attainable, using a mix of their professional experience and client interactions. Be sure to post your questions in the chat as the evening goes along, so you can get the answers you need to leave here and armed with the knowledge that can help you in whatever you plan to do on your way forward. Let me say welcome again, and I hope you have an informative and effective session. I wish you an evening filled with knowledge, information, sharing, and connection. I am really looking forward to the presentations and wishing you a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. And before we continue, I would like to thank our audience for joining us this evening. It is so great to see all of you, and we're so excited that you've joined this webinar as a means of shaping your goals and finding your path to financial freedom. As we listen to the upcoming presentation by our featured speaker and follow along with the panel discussion, be sure to put your questions in the chat for them to be answered in our Q&A at the end. Now we turn our attention to our main speaker. From a troubled teenager who was transferred to 4 high schools, narrowly missing expulsion 3 times, she became a 3-time World University debater and the only female in the Caribbean to cop the title of public speaking champion at the World Universities Debate Championships. Her journey to self-discovery is the foundation of her presentations, demonstrating the power to choose and unchoose who we want to become and show up with courage no matter our background, mistakes, and failures. Author of the book Kill Fear, The Art of Courageous Living, she bravely shares her experiences with confronting and killing the three big social fears of this generation: the fear of criticism, failure, and loneliness. Krystal holds certifications from Australia's Curtin University in Reputation Management in a Digital World, the Science of Happiness certification from the University of California, Berkeley, and a Bachelor of Science in International Relations, Political Science, and African Diaspora Studies. She is the founder and lead strategist for the Success Farm Life Academy and has curated a vibrant community of goal-getters in her group coaching program, the Harvest Hub, and continues to train hundreds of students to master the art of public speaking through her Speak with Courage online course. We welcome Ms. Tomlinson as she shares her journey with us and how we can use her hard-won lessons as a blueprint to paving our very own happy road. Ms. Tomlinson, over to you.
Thank you so much to the Sagicor team for having me. This opportunity got me very, very excited because it meant I got a chance to return to the Southern Caribbean team after the earlier session that we had to start off 2022. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Georgina. And I want to welcome as well all the persons who have joined us for this webinar. We are looking at something that is complicated when we start to think about our joy or happiness and what helps us to be happy or compromises the quality of the happiness, if not makes us unhappy altogether. So at the end of this session, you should be clearer on the 3 T's that are standing in the way of happiness, no matter where you are on the spectrum, and what you can start doing right now to reclaim your territory, your joy territory, your happiness territory, and walk that road with courage and with confidence. So I'm going to start off with a question, and if you're able to respond in the chat, please just jump in and let me know. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being extreme sadness and 10 being maximum happiness, how happy are you right now? When you think about your life, when you think about where you are and the direction that it's going, the pace at which it's going in that direction, from 1 to 10, how would you rate your happiness right now? And I'll check back as we go through what some of those responses are. Now, when we think about happiness, it feels very fleeting. And when we look at the research around it, joy seems to be what people are really defining when they say happiness, which is a sustained sense that things are going right. Doesn't mean that I have no wrong. Doesn't mean that I have no flaws, no failures, or no anxieties at all. But it's a general and sustained long-term feeling that things are going well with me, with my relationships, and with the things that matter most to me. When people consider the things that stop them from being happy, often you'll hear them reflect on a situation. They'll tell you about a person who has done something to destroy the sense of trust and confidence in the relationship, somebody who may have betrayed them at a particular point in time. And those things are the reasons that they are unhappy. The job makes them unhappy. The state of their finances makes them unhappy. Their health and well-being is not where it should be. And so they are happy. But I want to challenge that thought with a little more information around what really creates our sense of happiness or unhappiness. And we call them the 3 T's. Yes? The first T, your thoughts. What you think about yourself and your worthiness lays the foundation about whether or not you will be happy in life. Many of us think that it's the material things that we're able to gain, the status, the recognition, the celebration, what we're able to display to others in a culture that tells us to put it out there for all to see and allow the public to grade the quality of your life. And so it is going to take a lot for us to come back to center and accept that your first experience with happiness or unhappiness really begins with a thought. What do you think about yourself? What do you think about your worthiness, what you deserve to have in life and what you do not deserve to have in life? How are you contextualizing in thought your past and the mistakes that you would have made in your past? Do those mistakes keep you locked into a feeling of unworthiness? Have you failed to forgive yourself? Have you failed to apologize to self and confront and own those mistakes? And so it's keeping us captive. Another set of thoughts can be around our future and the uncertainty about whether or not we are prepared to do well, to succeed, to recover ground, even if we started out as failures, to make our parents proud, to honor our obligations, to set up a good life for our children. That fear of the future and the uncertainty that it brings is another set of thoughts that can make us unhappy. And so you will find that where you are sitting right now, you are well in your body. You have breath going in the nostrils, filling up those organs and the body with life, and you exhale that good old carbon dioxide that the plants need to grow. Physically, you are well. When you look at what you have in front of you, there are resources available for you to take action on your dreams. When you think about the people next to you, closest to you, in the next room, in the office, you realize that there are good people surrounding you who will support you and bear you up. But even though that is your present moment, what we're thinking about ourselves from past experiences and past mistakes interrupts our ability to feel happy now. The fear that we have about the future and what will come and whether or not we will be successful, whether we will win, whether we will lose, what people will think, what people will say, those thoughts about the future interrupt our happiness now. And so there are many persons sitting here who maybe graded themselves a little low on the happy spectrum for now, but there's nothing going wrong in this moment for you. In fact, if you could find the time, the resources, the data to connect to internet, it means that quite a few things are going right for you in this moment. Can we learn to pause and feel that? And so the best solution for that fear, that anxiety that comes up when we think about ourselves and the mistakes we've made, ourselves in the future to come and whether or not we are prepared, the best solution to that is presence, holding every thought captive to this present moment. I know my mind is going at a million miles per hour, thinking about 2 days from now when I'll get the call from the bill collector. Have I done all that I could do? Did I make the best attempt to gather the resources to earn and to budget properly to meet those obligations? And if I have done my best, I will stay in this present moment and enjoy what I have now. I'm not going to interrupt my now by panicking about 2 days in the future that are not yet here. In effect, imagining a reality and getting scared of it before it comes. Do not allow that anxiety about the future and the regret about the past to stop you from enjoying the joy that is in this moment. Now, when we exist in those realms and across that spectrum of past and present, it makes very, 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 very acute that sense that we will be criticized. Someone is going to remind us of the mistake we made in the past. And so we're there just kind of moping about it, ruminating on it, wishing we had not done it. Maybe people at present are reminding you about those mistakes in the past. And because our relationship with the past is so rock solid and tied in, we can't release that so we can enjoy the present moment. So the fear of criticism, what people are going to say about who I used to be, the fear of criticism, what people will say about the decisions I take now. If I do this now, what will mommy say? What will the strangers online say? What will my co-workers say? That fear of criticism drives us to inactivity and also compromises the state and quality of our happiness. So the solution to that first T, or thoughts, is presence. Choose to stay right here in this moment. What do I have right now? What can I do right now? What is my next best step right now? Because ultimately, the only power you have is in the now. And it makes no sense to be unhappy about the past and unhappy about the future when you have power in this present moment to take an action and have an impact. The second T that interrupts our happiness is trust. A lack of trust in ourselves. A lack of trust in the laws of the universe, to honor what it says it will do. One of those laws being, you will reap what you sow. And so if you put carrot in the ground, that is what you're going to reap when the season comes. If you put seeds for pumpkin in the ground, you're certainly going to reap pumpkin when that season comes. Whatever it is you plant, the universe and the laws of nature will honor you and deliver on that promise to ensure that you reap what you sow. But we do not trust ourselves sometimes to plant properly. We don't trust our instinct. We don't trust our experience. We don't trust the opportunities that are before us. And that lack of trust also leads us to not trust the laws of the universe that never change, that deliver every time. And for those of us who are a little more religious, the trust in God. So we say we trust God, but if you look at how we are living, if you look at how we are approaching circumstances and situations, it's actually the opposite. Right. So the trust in ourselves, that lack of trust causes us to make poor decisions. I don't trust myself with a new beginning, and so I'm going to stay in the old. I don't trust myself to learn things as I go, and so I don't want to try anything new. I don't trust the universe to, in fact, allow me to reap what I have sown. So I'm not going to sow anything. And I don't trust God to deliver, to protect, to be the light onto my path, and so I don't walk. So yes, trust, that trust in self, in universe, in God. A lot of the fear that we feel and a lot of the unhappiness that follows us through life is generated as a result of our lack of trust. And so if we are to combat that lack of trust, in fact, what causes that lack of trust more often than not is the mindset we have. There's either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset, put simply, is where you believe that all you know is all you will ever know, that you cannot grow. You were born this way. You were raised this way. It's in your DNA. It's how your family operates. It's how your particular group operates. It's how your ethnic or ethnicity is defined culturally. And so you believe that this is who you will always be. These are your habits. These are the beliefs that you hold. These are the spectrums on which you will earn. These are the jobs that you will have. All of those things are informed by a fixed mindset. But if you have a growth mindset, then the belief is different. The belief now is, I can learn and I can get better at this. When people genuinely believe that they can learn, they have a willingness to learn, they approach challenges and difficulties differently. While they might have initial anxiety, that is not enough to stop them from becoming an entrepreneur. Okay, nobody in my family has ever been an entrepreneur. We've all worked for other people, but I believe I can learn how to do this. And so not because it's never been done, not because my family always operates this way, it doesn't mean I can't break a generational curse. I can learn. And if I am learning, it means that I don't have all the answers, which means I'm going to make some mistakes. So the risk of a mistake can't scare somebody with a growth mindset, because they recognize that in the process of learning, some things have to be unlearned and some skills have to be sharpened in practice. So we are going to fail. We're going to have some bumps in the road. We're going to have some delayed timelines, but I believe in myself, trust. I believe that things will come once I start to move, that I can attract the right people to teach me. I believe that there is a law that guides how things happen on this earth. And if I do the right things, I can tap into that law, that creative energy and creative power. And I believe that I can grow. So even though I start as a seed, that's not where I will stop. Like all seeds, you put it in the ground in the right kind of environment and circumstances, it will grow. So you must have a growth mindset. And the solution for persons who don't have a growth mindset is something that I actually learned from my daughter. I call it putting on your baby face. I watched her from a little baby. Right? She was born prematurely, and she insisted at every single stage in her life that she's going to grow and she's going to learn. And whatever she does not know how to do, if she has fixed her mind to attempt to do it, she's going to try until she gets it. So initially, she had to be put to sleep. So I had to rock her to sleep. One day she decided that she would figure out how to, go on her tummy and ease up with her hands. And then she started to move because she saw everybody around her moving. People were getting from one place to the other and nobody had to carry them. And so she began to model that behavior, and she was creeping. And then she realized that people are moving, but they're also standing up on two legs. Can I do that walking thing? And she decided to use the legs that she had and try to walk. Sometimes she fell down. Sometimes as she was walking, it looked a little awkward. Sometimes we would be chuckling and laughing and eyeing and oohing as she did it. But that did not deter her. And that baby-like approach to life, believing that you can learn how to do the hard things. You can learn how to do what you see other people doing. Because as we know, what man has done, Man can do. So I want to learn to walk, and right now my legs are not strong enough. Do I stay on my belly and wait on people to carry me? Are you staying on your belly with the goals that you have for your educational advancement? Are you staying on your belly with the financial goals that you have for yourself and the generational curses that you're trying to break for your family? Are you staying on your belly when you think about the health and wellness goals, the fitness and the vitality that you want to feel in your body? Are you staying on your belly as you think about the quality of relationships and friendships that you want to have, waiting on somebody to pick you up and carry you? Or will you trust yourself? Will you put your baby face on, get up and learn, fall in the presence of those who are doing it better, and get up again and keep trying? Right now, she walks just fine. She's so good at walking, she started to run and climb, and pretty soon she's going to be doing cartwheels, because what man has done, man can do. And if we keep our baby face on, we will always be in that growth mindset, and we can always learn without the worry about the fear of failure. Failure becomes an asset. Failure becomes an opportunity. Failure becomes a learning moment in the journey to happiness for someone with a growth mindset. And the third and final T that gets in our way is the tribe, the community, the people who we are surrounding ourselves with. The energy in the relationships that you have, especially your friendships, your social and casual relationships, that energy can either propel you or keep you in park. I believe firmly that the people you are surrounded by are a big part of whether or not you will be standing in your potential, what you could do and all the ideas that you have, and standing in your purpose, actually doing and expressing that creative energy that only you have authority over on this earth. The tribe, the quality of your tribe. And so I encourage people to think about a principle that I call squadding up. Can you squad up? Can you pick a better team? Can you curate your friendships a little bit better? Because based on who you're surrounding yourself with, you're going to end up conforming to those principles and values. In fact, a study was done in the 1950s by a psychologist, Simon Ash. It's called the Ash Conformity Experiment. And what it showed is that even when we know the right thing, we will conform to the majority in the group. Even when we feel as though the answer is wrong, we will go against our instinct or wisdom or knowledge, the fact, just so we can go along with the group. And why is that? Because the human brain is wired to want connection. We want to fit in. We need an in-group. We need a tribe. We want to feel like we belong. We don't want to be rejected. And so even when we know it is not the correct thing to do or the right thing to do, even when we don't have enough information, we will lean to the group to tell us what we should do and what we should not. And that's why tribe is so important. This particular experiment, I'll tell you very quickly, there were 3 lines available on a screen: a tall line, a short line, and a medium length line. It was very clear. And then the researchers drew a 4th line, which would have been the same length as the medium line. And they asked persons, this 4th line, which one of those other lines that you saw first does it best align with? Which one looks like the same height as this 4th line? Now, of course, the answer would have been the middle line. And you can tell clearly what is a tall, what is a short, and what is a middle. Now, there were some persons who at first said that they made the correct choice, but when they were doing it the second time, when they were looking at that middle line again, they started to doubt themselves. And so they actually thought they were wrong because other people were picking the wrong line. Now, the group was deliberately told to select the wrong line to see if the one individual in the experiment would choose the right answer or go with the group. And almost 40% of the time, persons who knew the right answer chose the wrong one to go along with the group, or doubted that they knew the right answer and ceded to what the group was saying. Your social groups and connections are helping you to make decisions, when you don't have all the information. So you're trusting the group, the majority, to know. Because if I don't know, everybody else can't be wrong, so let me go with them. So in moments when you do need wisdom, be careful who you're leaning on. In moments when you need to be encouraged, be careful who you're sharing that pain and that struggle with, because they will either help you to stay unhappy, stay stuck, stay immobile, stay afraid, or propel you into a future that is full of purpose and passion. And again, of course, the second reason why we will conform is not just informational, because I don't have the information and I believe the group does, but normative conformity. We want to fit in. So if my friends are laughing at that, let me laugh at that. If my friends are going there, let me go there. If they practice this habit, let me practice it with them, because I want to fit in. Be careful who makes up your tribe. Ensure that you have a tribe that defines you in an expansive way, seeing you for more than who you are and what you have right now. Be careful when you're selecting a tribe, the way that they confine you. Confinement is good, but only if they're trying to keep you in the line of your principles, your values, and your mores. Be careful too, that when you pick the tribe, it's not to challenge you on your principles, but to challenge you in terms of accountability, to keep you honest, to keep you doing what you said you were going to do. People who can tell you when you are wrong, whose wisdom you trust, so you will stop doing what is wrong and return to what you had previously agreed was your principle and what is right, what is aligned. So squad up. A couple of questions you can ask yourself about your squad to check if you're in the right place. One, what does my squad normalize? What does my squad normalize? Do they normalize a state of victimhood and blaming? Do they normalize complaining and complacency? Do they normalize big thinking, risk-taking, honesty, discipline, accountability? What does my squad normalize? And if what they normalize is not aligned to your values, it's probably an indication you need to squad up. The second thing you can ask yourself is, where do I see myself, and who is already there and open to teaching me how to get there? That's how, when you want to expand your squad, you're looking for mentorship, you're looking for new professional and personal connections. Where do I see myself? And who is already there and open to teaching me? That's an opportunity for you to squad up with professional associations. And another question you could ask is, who sees me as I am? I don't have to contort and conform to be seen, honored, loved, and safe in their presence. Who sees me and is committed to helping me expand how I see myself? Those questions can be very useful to helping you squad up. Now, I want to check, I have one more activity that I want to bring the team through. So I want to check with Georgina if I do have the time to run through that Thrive checklist before we get started.
Hi, yes, Krystal, you can go ahead.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm going to throw up on screen in just a few minutes, but before I throw it on screen, I'm going to read through. So I'm asking you to just grab a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, and we're going to just tally through some things. What are, across the field of positive psychology, what are considered the things that make people happy? If you're doing these things on a regular basis, your sense of subjective well-being is higher than persons who are not doing a majority of the things on this list. So I call it the Thrive checklist. So we're going to do a Thrive check to see what life is like for you, to see how happy you are right now, and where there might be a gap and an opportunity to level up on your happiness. So when I ask the question, if the answer is yes, you just put a little stroke. We're going to tally. And in good old tally fashion, when you get to 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you strike across to indicate 5. And at the end, we're going to add up to see where we are. Now, you get to strike and give yourself a mark if you've done this about 50% of the time since the start of 2022. There are some action items here that is just one time you do it, and it's either you've done it or you've not done it, but others are practice-based. So if you've done it more than 50% of the time since the start of the year, give yourself a mark. The first one, have you drafted a personal mission statement outlining what your vision for your life is for this year? Yes, happiness needs alignment. How do I know I'm happy? What's the metric I'm grading it on? What are the principles? What's the pattern that my life is supposed to take? How am I supposed to be showing up? If you don't know how you should show up, it's going to be hard to gauge whether or not you're happy with your life, because you didn't set a standard. You didn't set a floor or a ceiling as to where you want it to go. Have you drafted a personal mission statement for the year? The second question, have you exercised 3 or more times each week since the start of the year? The answer is yes, give yourself a mark. Have you practiced eating mindfully? And what that means is not stuffing the easiest and available things in your mouth, but being aware of what feels good in your body. What gives you a headache after you've had a sip of it or a whole night binging on it? What makes you feel uneasy? What is causing you to pack on the weight? What is feeding any other illness that might exist in your body? Are you just eating because it's easy to eat it? or you're mindful around the quality of food that you're using to fuel your body? Have you been able to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep over the last 8 months of the year so far? Have you indulged at least one time for the month in self-care activities? At least one time, something that you do just because you enjoy doing it. Do you practice daily to drink 1 to 3 liters of water? Do you keep a gratitude journal and just regularly make entries, whether it's daily or weekly? Do you meditate, center yourself spiritually, or pray, whatever that practice, that centering practice is, to just acknowledge the abundance, express the gratitude for life and all that life has given you? Do you practice decluttering? One of the ways you can know if you're doing well at this, I like to use ladies as the example. If somebody were to be asked to go in your purse to get something, could they find it? You know, is what you have in your purse essential, or things that need to be thrown out? But you don't make a practice of auditing what you're gathering and collecting, what's cluttering and taking up space, what has lost its utility and its functionality. But because you've always had it in the purse, you don't know, you don't even recognize it anymore. And you certainly aren't clearing out that space to give yourself the freedom of more room. Now, that decluttering can be around the purse, it can be the briefcase, it can be the backpack, can be your closet, it can be your shoe closet or your clothing closet, it can be the books, the papers, your medicine cabinet, the cupboards in the kitchen, the fridge. Are you regularly decluttering and removing the things that have lost utility so you can make room for new things, or just be okay with the emptiness temporarily? The pace at which you declutter, if at all, is usually an indication around how you curate your relationships and how well able you are at moving things and people out of your life that no longer serve a purpose or have become contrary to the purpose they were initially meant to serve. Do you give charitably is the next question. Have you designed and stuck to a personal budget for yourself? And the budget is planning to spend the money before you get the money, right? It's the plan to spend, not the auditing about how you have spent. Designed it and stuck to a personal budget. If you have, you can give yourself a mark. Are you monitoring your spending habits daily? Now, that's a different marker. So you monitor how you're spending each day. Emotionally, are you apologizing when you are at fault? And there's a particular anatomy to an apology. It's not, I'm sorry you felt bad about what I did. It is accepting that I've done something wrong. I regret doing that because I see that it has hurt you, and I'm committing to not repeating that behavior ever again. Do you practice forgiving persons when they make an error or a mistake? Do you practice avoiding gossip and negative conversation? Sometimes that means getting up when that conversation starts, stopping it, just verbally saying, I don't discuss people when they're not in my presence. And another time it's around where you stop on social media, which comment threads get your attention. What are you reading and feeding on and responding to in a regular way? Another question, do you read a book each month? Have you developed a new skill or talent over the last 8 months? Have you killed any fear over the last few months? Do you practice speaking up for yourself, especially in moments when people are crossing boundaries and violating agreements? Are you more of a people pleaser, or you stop and say, no, what you said was out of line. What you did not align with my principles and values. That's not my standard. I don't accept this. This is a lie. Don't tell a lie on me. Do you practice speaking up for yourself? In the last year, did you end an unhealthy relationship? Did you mend a broken relationship? Did you add one more quality relationship to your professional or personal network? Did you quit a bad habit? Did you start a new and healthy habit? Did you get a mentor? If you don't think you need a mentor, that's also an indication that you're in the fixed mindset and think you know all you need to know already. Or maybe you have too high a sense of trust in your ability to learn every single thing in the world on your own, and may need to come down a little bit to accept that there are teachers out there who you can learn from, either as virtual mentors or in person, people in your workspace or in other social spaces. Did you mentor someone? Are you willing to teach, to share your wisdom and your skill? Were you able to reduce the screen time, particularly around social media apps? Because I know there's a lot of screen time now for work. We're not counting that one, but your social media use of the screens. Did you take a risk on an idea? Doesn't matter if it was successful or not, but you had a thought, you had an ambition, you had an idea, and you said, let me invest my time, energy, and resources in pursuing this. Did you save or invest 10% of your income? And were you able to make an impact in your community in any way at all? Visiting a soup kitchen, donating to the Salvation Army, volunteering a few hours at an elderly home, making a monetary donation to a children's home, just doing something for the community, just because. Now I want you to tally your score, and we're grading out of 60. So I want you to tally your score. Tell me what you're seeing as your score. Once you've tallied, you can multiply it by 2. We're going to double it and see how close we can get to the 60. So multiply that score by 2. And then drop it in the chat. Now, wherever you're feeling that you are at your lowest, where you did not get a particular thing done, I'm going to share this with the Sagicor team so they can circulate to everybody that was here. You can look back at this list and see where you're dropping the ball and where you might want to pick it up. Again, the principle here is the more you're doing on this list, it's the more joy and happiness you will feel. Thank you all so much for your time and your focus, and I'm looking forward to engaging you in the panel discussion.
Thank you, Krystal, so much. And for those who were trying to chat with us, you can use the Q&A feature. Our chat is disabled, so you can chat with us through Q&A, and those who have been doing it, thank you so much. And thank you for taking part in that gratitude checklist. Now, as Krystal was saying, fear can certainly change our path and stop us from fully experiencing life. Learning how to manage that fear and using it to further our goals can make a huge difference. Something all of us can practice daily when we leave this session. Don't forget to keep sending in your questions if you have been. I know you guys have been working very hard on the little homework that Krystal has been giving you. So now it's the time to make sure you get those questions in. We look forward to answering them very shortly. We now invite Ms. Tomlinson to join our panel of knowledgeable Sagicor advisors as they discuss how they've helped their clients achieve their goals and find their happy roads. Now joining us are Sagicor advisors, Brenton Hilaire from Dominica, Javon Fellman from Trinidad and Tobago, and Caleb Welch from Barbados. Now Krystal will also join us for the discussion. Now, for anyone who may be joining us for the first time this evening, we welcome you to our Find Your Happy Road webinar, where we are discussing our goals and dreams and how we overcome our fears. We're now in the panel discussion segment for this evening. Now, I'd like to remind you again to use that chat box to submit any questions or comments throughout the session. So we can't ask your question if you don't send it in. We'll be referring to your questions for the Q&A that's coming up right after the panel discussion. Now, welcome and thank you for joining us. Now, Krystal, Caleb, Brenton, and Javon, welcome to the panel. Let's get started. Now, Krystal spoke a lot about goal setting, and many may see this in terms of their job or career. But how can we use this technique of goal setting to improve our overall lives, including financially? I'd like each of you to weigh in here, but Brenton, I hope you don't mind starting us off. Each of our panelists can also weigh in after if you wish. So Brenton, weigh in right here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Goal setting, as you rightly said, is so important. And there's a quote from Bill Copeland, an American historian, poet, and author that I absolutely love. And he said that the trouble with not having a goal is that you can spend your life running up and down the field and never score. And when you have to translate that into life, if you don't have a goal, you will find yourself engaged in so many activities, but at the end of the day, how close those activities bring you to where you want it to be. Everything should start from having that goal, because it will then help us to decide what we need to do or what we need to put in place to get closer to it. And as we think about it financially, it is still as important to have a goal. Whether that goal is wanting to retire as a millionaire, whether the goal is wanting to make sure that our family is financially secure, we need to understand what is important to us. And based on that, we are then able to step in. And what we do at Sagicor is that we always make the effort to understand what's important to you, what's important to me. In terms of me, I'm a client as well. What were my goals? And I can share my story that when I first became a father at 28, my first goal was providing protection for my daughter. So I got life insurance. Then as she grew older, my next goal was making sure that I could send her to university. So I went to get an education plan. And as time goes by, our goals change, our missions change in life, and we have to constantly evaluate them, but it always has to be tied back to what our goals are. So for you all there, you need to understand what's important to you. We can also speak to you and help you to achieve those goals for the various products and services that we offer. But always remember that you need to understand that goal, have a goal. And if you don't have a goal, spend some time to see what's important in your life.
Thank you, Brenton. Now we go over to you, Javon. We're putting you in the hot seat. How do you think the technique of goal setting can help you improve your overall life, financial life, everything? What do you think?
I love that Brenton touched on some of the financial goals that persons look to achieve. Getting their savings up to a certain amount, paying off some debt, purchasing a car or a house, starting their retirement plans. I just want to leave persons with 5 tips when it comes to setting your financial goals. And the first step is simply writing your goals down. It is said that 42%, you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write it down. And what that says to me is that half the job already done by putting pen to paper. The second thing is to stick to your budget. Third, make a realistic goal based on your income. If you know you're working for 10,000 for the month, realistically saving 8,000 of that may not happen. So set realistic goals. Fourth, involve your family and friends for accountability. So tell them what your goals are. Tell them you're looking to purchase this house in 5 years' time and let them ask you about it. And the fifth one, which to me is the most important, is simply being patient and don't compare your financial goals to somebody else's financial goals.
Thank you, Javon. Now, last but certainly not least, Caleb, we go over to you. How do you think the technique of goal setting can improve our overall life, especially our financial life?
Good evening, everyone. Goal setting is important, so that you can know exactly what is important for you to achieve in life. And the question you must ask yourself is, what would make me happy? I think the conversation about happiness is very important. And it is something that I am very interested in hearing Krystal expand some more on. Some people think happiness is a mindset. People say, well, money can't buy you happiness. But the reality is that a lot of the problems people are facing today is due to a lack of money. So even though money, doesn't buy happiness, the lack of money can leave you to be very uncomfortable, right? So goal setting is important so you could pinpoint, what's important for you, and then make a plan to go after it. So like Javon said, one of your goals may be to clear off some debt, and this will free up disposable income that you could then use to, channel to other areas of your life. Maybe you'll be able to buy that guitar and start music lessons, or you'll be able to save up for a vacation and take the family overseas, because as we're living life, we want to create memories, right? So you still need to have some fun in between. You may be looking at home ownership, being able to leave home or transition from renting, get that independence as you go through life. That may bring happiness. Saving for retirement. If you don't start early, if you don't plan from now, then when you retire, you're not going to be very happy. It's not going to be a happy road. You don't want to just survive. You want to enjoy. After 30, 40 years of working, you don't want to struggle at the end. So you have to start from now, right? So Sagicor is equipped to help you with your goals. Just reach out to an advisor and we will get you started.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, Krystal, you also spoke a lot about facing our fears. At times that can be difficult to do, especially when we don't wish to fully come to terms with them. Financially, they may look like taking a review of your spending and making a decision to budget. I'd like the others to weigh in here, but I want to start with you, Krystal. How important do you think it is to set financial goals that can set us up for success and employ techniques like budgeting as part of our success story?
So it's critical, and it's actually why it's on the Thrive checklist around designing a budget, sticking to the budget, monitoring the spending habits, and setting aside money in a routine way, either through investing or saving it, in a pan somewhere on the back. Like we have to be taking out a portion for the future, creating in essence an umbrella for when that rainy day comes. Why is that important? So the research was actually done, and I think it's just amazing that Caleb asked that question around money and its correlation to happiness. In 2010, a wide-scale study of over 400,000 Americans, let me put that in context, considered whether or not money actually brought them happiness. And what they found was that household incomes, once it got to 75,000 a year, that is where people were happiest, because at 75,000 a year, you're able to cover your expenses, invest in your future, and also enjoy some kind of leisure and rest through the money. But after 75,000, what set in was what we call in positive psychology, hedonic adaptation. So it kind of, petered off. People who were earning 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 10 million for the year were no happier. In fact, some of them were a little less happy than persons who are earning at that 75,000 mark of household income. So money buys us happiness up to 75,000 US a year. After that, it just becomes normal, which is why you'll find people who are multimillionaires facing issues around emotional wellness, because the money alone can't solve for other problems. And so it is critical around the ability to feel well, to be able to answer to emergencies, health crises for yourself, for your family, to respond to social crises in your community and feel like you're part of that anchor, part of the solution building. And to also not have to worry that if I die, my expenses get passed off to my children, not to worry that if my child passes for a university that's good, I can't send them there if they've been accepted because I can't afford it. So you have a solid sense of an anchor in the present and a sense of certainty too, that if things come up, reasonable things come up in the future, I'm able to handle it. So the budgeting is important if you want to pull yourself out of debt and into financial stability, and also to increase that income, increasing the spending power, so you can answer to life's attending emergencies, needs, and interests.
Thank you, Krystal. Now, going back in order we went last time, back to Brenton. How important do you think it is to set financial goals, and what techniques can we employ to find success in this?
I love what was just shared, being prepared for emergencies. But before I expound on that, there is a budgeting tool technique that is very popular. I'm not too sure if everyone has heard it. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. It is said that 50% of your income should be catering to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings. Now, funny enough, a lot of financial gurus say that health insurance should be in that 50%. Health insurance is a need. And one of the reasons for that is it really acts as that safeguard for our savings, because in the event of a medical emergency, in the event of something like that happening, the first thing we dip in is in our savings. And then if we dip into the savings and we don't have that savings in place anymore for the future, the question is, can we be happy? Find your happiness. So a lot of people are now understanding the importance of having insurance within our budgets. That is the 50% need of our budget so that we can be happy. And the other aspect of it is retirement planning. So from the time you make your first paycheck, if you started working at 18, you should have already been putting 20% of that towards some form of savings. And you could even split it further, medium-term savings, long-term savings for retirement, because at the end of the day, when you employ these financial tools within your budget, it helps you to guarantee your success despite the economic shocks that may occur, despite the challenges that may occur. And I will also encourage you as a technique to encourage your friends to do so. Because as much as we look after ourselves, I heard someone said that our financial plan is only as strong as the financial plan of our family members. Because if any one of us had a brother or a sister that fell sick, we would still have to support them. So as a part of your budgeting techniques, you can also encourage your peers, your family, your colleagues to do something similar like you have done for yourself, whether it is health insurance to protect your savings, retirement plan to ensure that you can retire comfortably, or protecting your family. We all have a part to play. As mentioned earlier, Sagicor is well positioned to offer you those sort of tools to help you be happy.
Thank you, Brenton. That's a really valid point. I've seen that in people around me where one family member becomes ill and the entire family, extended family, is now shouldering that financial responsibility. So thank you for bringing that to light. Now, Javon, over to you.
So when clients come to me, I say to them, don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. Budgeting is the foundation of achieving any goal, any financial goal. I had a client say to me once, a goal is to purchase a house in 5 years. So we looked through the finances, we looked at a budget and realized 40% of her income were being spent on shoes, on going out, on clothes every month. So we had to work around that and reduce that expenditure to about 10% to accommodate one of Sagicor's savings plan that's going to give her a down payment for the mortgage in the next 5 years. And it's the little things like this that we advisors do that clients appreciate, not just advising them on insurance policies, but advising them on different lifestyles as well, letting them know that the goal is achievable and we may just need to tweak the current system they have in place.
Caleb, last but not least, we want to know how you think about the financial goals, how important it is, and what techniques we can employ to improve our lives.
Yeah, well, budget is very important. It pretty much is a plan on how you're going to spend your money. And after you have decided on this budget, because it's really a tool also not only to plan how you're going to spend your money, but how you're going to curb expenses and control expenses and so on. But after you've determined your goals, you get the budget in place. And the budget really and truly is supposed to promote some sort of accountability to self, because you made a decision that you're going to cut spending here, cut spending there. So you have to constantly look at it daily, look at your spending and decide, do I need to spend this much on food? Should I eat out? Should I pack lunch? That kind of stuff. I remember personally when I first started tracking my daily spending, and I was surprised. I was surprised at the amount of money I was spending on snacking, because I had this habit on the afternoon. I don't know how many other people do it. You have lunch, and then in the afternoon, you probably go to the nearby confectionery or pharmacy or what have you, and you buy snacks. And when you track it, you realize that this is a lot of money that I'm leaking, right? So it's very important to track your spending on a daily basis as well, and stick to that. So Sagicor, we meet with an advisor. We can look at a budget for you. We can go through your budget, can help you curb some of that spending, but not only curb spending now, we can help you allocate some of those funds towards solutions that can help you attain the same goal. Do you have a life insurance policy? Can you afford X amount? What are your needs? That stuff, that kind of stuff. So we can help you with that.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, Krystal, we're going over to you for this one. How can we approach goal setting? There are so many areas of our lives that require strategic mapping, and it's easy to get overwhelmed with it all. We have our financial aspect, we have marriage. For those who are parents, there's parenting goal setting. Then we have our own personal goals. How do we go about reaching all the goals we set for ourselves in the various facets of our lives?
So one of the great ways to start is doing a life audit, seeing where you actually are, because there are days when you feel like you're doing very well, but until you've really sat down and gone through the details of your finances to see where you're not doing so well, it's hard to set a goal to improve. And feelings will fluctuate. If you're getting good news in one area, you tend to believe that things are going great all around and all across the board. And so anchoring ourselves in good data is important. I encourage you at the start of every year, at the midpoint in each year, and just as you're entering the final quarter of the year, to do a check. Where am I starting at the top of the year? Or maybe you'll do it in December to determine a plan for the year that's coming. But where am I heading into this new year? What are my priorities? Because sometimes too, we're in a season. If I'm in a season for building, the priority is not so much purchasing land or purchasing a home. I'm in a building phase. I'm looking at the soil that I have. I'm looking at the seeds. I'm trying to pick the right one to put in the ground. I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing grow from where it's at, and not necessarily how I can get more land and more produce. At this point, I'm putting some seeds in the ground. And for some of us, that might look like your education. Are you going back to school at this time so that when you come back to a meeting with your HR manager, you can negotiate for a promotion or a raise, right? So where am I and what season am I in? Am I in building mode? Am I in a process now where I just need to be repeating the good behavior until it pays off? Am I in my reaping season? And how do I handle the reaping responsibly? But it requires us doing a life audit, and that Thrive checklist is a good way to jumpstart that process. So do you have particular ideas around where you might be falling short, having gone through that Thrive checklist? What are some of the things that I may have asked about that you're realizing you don't really have any activity going on in that area, and that's a priority area for you? Maybe you're in a space where you're trying to build better relationships. Finances is not a problem for you. Your job aligns with your passion, but you don't have a very good relationship with your parents, with your children, with your friends or cousins, and you really want to have better social connections. So completing that Thrive checklist, which I'll be sure to make available, helps to give you a good starting point around where I am, what I have, what feels wrong, and based on the season I'm in, what I can prioritize. And then we can get started around setting the goals and picking where to begin among the myriad of places where we could do with some improvement.
Thank you, Krystal. Now, Javon, going over to you. Coming out of my last question, let's talk about how we can take care of our loved ones. We all want our children and our loved ones to do well. It's every parent's hope for their child. How can someone provide their children with a good foundation for their own journey?
I love that you use the word foundation in that question, Georgina, because that's the primary role of having life insurance in place. And honestly, not just life insurance, but sufficient life insurance. And I want to speak to the parents specifically on the webinar at this point. If you know your children are dependent economically on your income to survive, you need to have life insurance in order for they to thrive. Life insurance will give them the start in life, maybe to start a business, to further their education, or to pursue their passions. And I want to share a real life example right now. One of the young staff members at our branch, her dad died just a few years ago. 1 year before she's supposed to enter university. Her dad was the breadwinner, the only parent working in the home. And it is only because her dad left a sizable life insurance, she was able to go to university, and her sister is able to study to be a doctor. It's only because of that payment. And that's the definition of taking care of your loved ones. That's what giving them a foundation means. That is the power of having life insurance in place.
Thank you, Javon. Now, goal setting is also mapping out our future and our dreams. So this one's coming over to you, Caleb. Many people, not only the Caribbean, but also across the globe, are concerned about retirement planning. I know it's usually recommended, even now, that we have more than one income stream. I imagine it will be more important when we officially retire. How can we set ourselves up to be comfortable in our later years? Caleb?
Excellent question. Realistically, when you retire after working for so many years, your salary also retires with you. You don't get a salary anymore. When your working days are over, your salary is also over. And if you have not started from early, your retirement is not going to be as pleasant as you would like. In Barbados, currently there's a conversation about the National Insurance Scheme. It's a government program, and the reality is that it is pretty much in trouble. And even if the viability of it persists, those funds are not going to be sufficient to allow persons to continue their standard of living that they're accustomed to. The whole idea is to keep your happiness up. You don't want to have a sudden shift in your lifestyle at an old age. So starting early is the best way. However, not everyone would have been able to do so, and that's fine. The hardest part is to know, and like Krystal said, start now. What can you do in this moment? You know, so even if you haven't started before, you can start today. Meet with an advisor and look at a plan that's right for you. Sagicor offers retirement plans, but you can get creative and you could look at other vehicles of cash accumulation. We also have endowment plans that can do this.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, one thing that can derail our retirement years and even how much we can set aside monthly is illness. How can we strategically plan for this kind of unexpected event? Javon, this one is yours.
Thanks, Georgina. When planning for those uncertain times, we must have 3 things in place. The first thing we should have in place is a liquid emergency fund, which could pay between 6 to 12 months of your expenses. So simple maths. If your monthly fixed expenses is 5,000, you should have at least 6,000 put aside in an account that is easily accessible. The second thing you should have in place is what we call disability insurance. And you're going to use disability insurance for your medium-term sickness or accident that you may have suffered. Disability insurance will kick in to help you pay some of your short-term medical costs. And the third thing, and the most important thing to help you keep your financial plan in place, is critical illness insurance. This will take care of the major illnesses like cancer, stroke, heart attack. As I said, the best financial plan and portfolio could be shed to pieces if that person becomes critically ill. I myself, with my clients, have seen with my own eyes family having to sell their land and property below market value just to save their loved ones. So when it comes to critical illness insurance, ask yourself this simple question. If I get sick, do I want to use my money from my savings, or do I want to use Sagicor's money?
Thank you, Javon. That's some real food for thought. So Brenton, I think 2 things a good plan needs to consider is the beginning and the end. What is one way someone can help ease the stress their family will experience while grieving loss?
experiencing a death within our circle is tough by itself. We feel it when it's a friend, we feel it when it's a colleague, but we feel it even more when it's direct family, when it's a parent, when it's a child, sibling. And it's a bit worse when, in the case of family members and in the case of when we are depending on that individual, that we now have to think of the financial impact of their loss. Now, I can speak from my own experience where my father passed away 17 years ago. At the time that he passed away, there was still a mortgage on the house. He was the breadwinner. And the fact is, at 20 years of age, if he had passed away without life insurance, maybe I would be living on the streets today. And that's the reality of death, especially when it's the death of the main breadwinner, that we now are suffering grief, but at the same time of mourning their loss, we also have to start worrying about where are we going to get income, where are we going to get finance to just continue on being comfortable. That's at the basic level. And one of the easiest ways of safeguarding our family from that is life insurance, as Jovan said earlier. At the basic level, once we know that there are others who depend on our income, we need to consider it so that in the event of they are financially okay. And one rule of thumb that is used to advise people on having sufficient coverage, as Jovan spoke about, is a simple formula. You take your annual income, you multiply it by 10, and that will give you an idea, a rough estimate as to how much coverage you should have. But you could even go a step further and be a bit more scientific about it. Calculate how much of your money goes towards supporting the family. Calculate how many months or how many years you would like to be behind for them in the event that you're no longer here. So we really have to think about our family in this case. As I mentioned earlier, I have a daughter, and there's no way that I'm going to live this up and have a struggle financially. So once you understand that concept, then you understand the importance of having life insurance in place to ease their pain. Let them mourn us and just focus on mourning us.
Thank you, Brenton. Now, members of the panel, you've all outlined quite a bit. With all that was said, what do you want the audience to take away with them today, Javon?
Thanks, Georgina. My last takeaway is pretty simple. The Great Wall of China consists of almost 4 billion bricks, each laid individually. To create an effective financial plan will take some time, maybe years. Sagicor has a team of well-trained and educated advisors to help you build your future. Take the first step. Lay the first brick by speaking with an agent.
Thank you. Thank you, Javon. Now, Krystal, is there anything that you want to reinforce for our audience this evening?
Oh, absolutely. Remember where suffering begins. It begins in the mind first. If it's not something that physically compromises your safety and your wellness, the sense of happiness and joy, or a lack thereof, begins first in your mind. What are you thinking about yourself? The self that lived and made it to this point and those mistakes that brought you here. What are you thinking about self and self's ability to learn, to take a good decision now, to recover ground, to improve, even if you didn't start off your walk very strong? What you believe about yourself, your ability to grow, your ability to learn, your ability to choose differently, particularly around your circle and your relationships, your financial goals and your financial well-being. What you believe about yourself is going to drive your actions. So if you want to change what you're doing, you have to change what you're thinking. And what I love is that the members of the panel here all have anchored in the strategic advice that they're giving you, mindset tools and tips to get you thinking about your money and your financial well-being differently. That applies across the board. Change how you're thinking about you, what you can have, how you can grow, where you can go. Until you change what happens here, the action will remain the same.
Thank you, Krystal. Now, Caleb and Brenton, we're going to finish up with you guys. Any last thoughts? Caleb, let's start with you.
I just want to emphasize that Sagicor is a true one-stop shop. You know, we have quite a few members on the call. Sagicor, we cater to everyone, right? So it doesn't matter. We can find a solution for you. Doing business with Sagicor connects you to a dynamic company. We offer a wide range of insurance products, retirement planning solutions, home ownership opportunities, and also investments. So you're the right place. You've logged into the right chat. Reach out to a Sagicor advisor and we can help you. But I also want to underscore that goal setting, even though goal setting is imperative to achieve your goals, accountability to self and consistency to the plan is also key. So once you meet with an advisor and you work out your budget, you look at the plan, you start the plan, you have to stick to the plan. So that's my what I want my takeaway.
Brenton?
What I want to leave with us is that the first step is establishing what your goals are. You need to understand what it is that you're working towards. From there, you then have to develop a plan to accomplish that goal. You may not be able to accomplish everything in 1 year. You may not be able to do it in 2 years, 3 years, but the thing is you understand where you want to go and you allow yourself time, patience, you trust yourself, as we heard earlier, to work towards it. And in the financial realm, we all may have big goals, but we can take it through incremental steps. We heard that the Great Wall of China was done brick by brick. You can work towards your goals policy by policy. I got my first policy at 24, very young age. When I had my daughter at 28, I got my second policy. Then at 30, I got another policy for her education. So I did it brick by brick. And what you'd be happy to hear is that a lot of times we overestimate the cost of putting plans in place through what we have to offer. A lot of people who actually sit down with, understand their goals and show them how we can assist are quite shocked at how much it actually costs to do so. So don't be afraid. Beat the fear of having that conversation. Sit down with someone from the team of Sagicor and let us help you to realize your goals. We are well equipped, the company is well equipped, and we are here to help you find happiness.
Thank you, Brenton. And thank you to all of our panelists. I really want to thank you for your thought-provoking discussion. You provide us with a wealth of information to consider about plotting our own roadmap for our financial success. It was an amazing discussion and I learned so much. And it's clear that whenever we feel that we're alone in a situation, there's someone out there who's experiencing something very similar. Even by the questions we've received, many of us are concerned about the same plans for our own future, no matter how old or young we may be. So now let's move forward into our Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, I see that you have a lot of questions for us. Now it's time for us to answer them. Now, if you haven't already, you can still put them in the chat. If we do not get to your questions, you can reach us and we're going to type it out as well and put it in the chat. But you can reach us at SLI, as in Sagicor Life Inc., SLI_TT_marketing@sagicor.com. So if you have a really burning question and our questions do not get to that this evening or doesn't touch on it, please send us an email. It's now in the chat, SLI_TT_marketing@sagicor.com. So now let's go on to our first question. I'm going to throw it out there and I'll let whichever advisor think that they are best suited to answer this question. Now we've had a question and it's coming, this similar versions of this question is coming. What age limit is there in acquiring a retirement plan? Or is there an age limit to acquiring a retirement plan? Let me see. Brenton, do you think you can answer this one for us?
As I mentioned, the financial gurus in this world recommend you start from your first paycheck, but What I've found is that we often don't get that education in our school system to help us to start. So I myself started a bit late, but it's better late than never. One thing that you want to target is that you have at least 10 years for that retirement plan too, because one of the key aspects of it is that it has to earn interest. The interest has to build upon the interest in order to give you that return to help you be more comfortable. So at least 10 years is required before that retirement age, but we also have to consider the fact that the less time we have, the more we have to contribute. And that's why it's advised to start early. If you start early and you have 45 years to contribute to a retirement fund, then you can imagine the interest you're going to get from that. And that's going to reduce the installments towards that plan. So the earlier you start, the better. But if you have passed the age of 20, like many of us, start now. Or at least have the conversation now so that you understand what is required from you in order for you to be comfortable.
Thank you, Brenton. Now, on to our next question. Do you have any insurance plans to help us save and be prepared for children's college education in the not so far away future? Javon, do you think you can answer this one?
Yeah, for sure. So it will depend obviously on which territory we're talking about. I could speak on Trinidad and Tobago. At Sagicor, we have the Sagicor Life Solutions. We have endowment policies. We also have platinum education policies, but it all will depend on the affordability of the client. All these policies could start small and eventually increase. So I would advise this particular person set, if it is in Trinidad, you could set an appointment with a Sagicor rep and they could give you your options for sure.
So a quick reminder for our viewers who are not based in Trinidad and Tobago, you can send an email to sli_tt_marketing@sagicor.com to find out what solutions are available in your territories. So moving on to our next question, what tips do you have for being agile to navigate significant curveballs to your goals? Now this one's a very Krystal question.
So you have answered in some respects the very question. Agility is something that you develop as those curveballs come. And so as I mentioned before, keeping that baby face on and trusting yourself to learn, in fact, demanding of yourself that I'm going to learn from this is important. One of the things that can happen to us when we get the curveball, it throws us off the plan that we initially had. We end up on a different road, the time is running out, and the deadline that we had set is just not happening. One of the things we tend to do is stop. And the stop is not to reassess, to reposition, to reach around for help. The stop is to throw a pity party. The stop is to give up on the goal. But if you have a growth mindset, it's a requirement for you to learn something from the struggle. So one of the things I often challenge any of my coaching clients who have this issue to ask themselves, what is this struggle supposed to teach me? Because if you are stuck behind a hurdle, it means that you've not yet developed the skills to get over that hurdle. You don't yet have the skill to avoid the road that would lead to this hurdle. So it is clearly an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself, about the skills you have, about your ability to make decisions under pressure, to renegotiate timelines, boundaries, resources. There's something there for you to learn. You would not have made a mistake or gotten on this path to face this hurdle if you knew everything about this problem. So humble yourself enough to accept that life can teach you things. Expecting that you will be perfect in the start, expecting that there will be no interruption, is to dismiss everything you know about life. We all entered this world bloody. There is no easy entry, no easy beginning, no easy path. Our very first day on this earth taught us that we'll have to fight, and in some respects, tear through another human being to get here. So don't expect there to be no hurdles. Don't expect there to be no problems. Trust yourself more than you're trusting that obstacle. Humble yourself and ask, what can I learn? And if you don't feel like you're learning anything while you're in that valley, if you're not clear what you're supposed to be planting and working on in that struggle, reach around, reach up for help. If you don't have the answers, it's very likely almost 100% certainty that someone has been through this or some variation of this. And if you simply ask for help, you can receive it. So don't sit there by yourself looking at the hurdle. Ask for help. If you've turned it all the ways you can turn it and you still don't have a new perspective.
So a quick addition to that, Krystal, because I want to ask something, I will add on to that. How often should we update our plan according to our goals? Things and people change over time. So how often should we update that plan?
I think it's important to use the 3 markers that I had shared earlier, which is at the end of a year or just at the start of a new year, because there's an initiating energy culturally that's encouraging you to dream big, to look again, to pause, to plan, create your vision board, come up with that life strategy. You want to take advantage of that cultural energy that exists to just pause and look at your life with a lot more hope, ambition, and passion. So make use of that moment. The start is just as important as the beginning. So use the start as the end, I'm sorry. So use the start to set and build momentum. But because we know that sometimes momentum will dip, you run out of steam after the first quarter. By the time you get to April, you're wondering where the time has gone. Halfway into the year, you're not sure if you still want these goals anymore. Use that 50% marker when you get to the end of June and ask yourself, do I still want this? Does this feel right for me? Have I done my best? And the best is not getting me around this corner. Do I need a new strategy, a new goal, a new set of tools? What do I need right now? Pause in the middle. Don't be afraid to change your mind. There's a psychological bias that we have called the sunk cost bias, where because I started this in January and I declared I would do this in February, now that I'm at June, I can't stop. I've put in 6 months. I don't want to lose the 6 months. And then you find you put in 6 years on something that you really shouldn't have spent so much time on. So pause and audit honestly, and don't let that bias drive your decision making. If you were wrong, now you know a better route. You didn't know everything at the beginning, you know some more now. Use that wisdom to make a higher quality decision. Don't feel like you're flaky when you say this no longer suits me or my passion. And then when you get to that final quarter, again, a last burst of energy to kind of push through, recommit, dig deep, and set some hard deadlines now. Because when the year has ended, the year has ended. What am I going to do before December 31? Use that moment as well, around October, 1st of October, to look at where you've gotten for the year, the 3 months that's left. What is the priority that you could identify here? What's the commitment? What's the 90-day challenge or the 60-day challenge to get to the end? And all the while asking, does this still feel right for me? Is this aligned with my goals? Am I seeing new opportunities to maximize? Do I have the resources, have the time? Do I need to get counsel and speak with someone on this? And use that final quarter marker to give you, again, added momentum and a burst of energy once you're clear.
Thank you, Chris. I have a burst of energy from that. On to the next question. What policies, and Caleb, this is coming to you. What policies would be suitable for me as I am recently married and have another child?
Okay. Well, it really depends on the person's total picture. She said she has another child, so we could assume it was more than one. But it really comes down to affordability and your budget, right? So if you don't have a policy at all, but you're on a tight budget, we have something that can start you off, term insurance. However, if you can afford to spend a little bit more, you will be able to buy a different type of policy that can provide additional benefits in terms of cash value and so on. But it's really difficult in a setting like this to suggest any one particular product. It really comes down to a personal discussion with the advisor to look at the person's budget, look at what they can afford, look at their goals, what they really want to achieve. We have, like I said, we cater to everyone. If you want an absolutely tight budget, we can get you started with something pretty simple that will still provide that family protection. But of course, we can then build on that as time goes on.
So leading on from that, we have an attendee who says, also, I have a gratuity policy, but I may want to retire early. So I'm assuming they're looking for advice on this. So they have a gratuity policy, but may want to retire earlier. There we go. What would you advise? Who would like to take this? Let's go
That's
back
to
to
me
the-
as well?
Oh, Caleb? Yes, go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, well, normally in cases like that, when persons have potential policies that have a maturity value, and you want to see if you could afford to retire early, I would normally request the actuaries to look at it, see exactly, okay, this person has a lump sum of cash. Realistically, if they wanted to retire early, what sort of money will they be getting as a pension, to make a really sound decision? Because sometimes you may think you have a good amount of cash, but then the policy has to pay for the rest of your life. So when the actuaries look at it and you try to buy an annuity with this lump sum, what you're getting monthly as a pension might be less than you saw. So is enough really enough? You really have to look at it and see.
Thank you, Caleb. I know a lot of us don't think of it that way. We're living longer. Is it enough to take us through? So another question, this person, I am 45. I'm interested in owning my own home and vehicle. I just want to know how to go about achieving this goal at my age. Let me see. Brenton, back to you.
All right, 45, you want to own your own home and vehicle. I'm putting myself in a position, what would I do? The first thing I would do is sort of identify the type of home that would make me happy. Once I establish that, then I would start looking at the options that are available. It will require looking around the market, because as you know, the price of a house is going to vary based on the location that you buy it in. And the house itself is also going to affect the cost. Once you have established that, you've established your goal. Now, you have to then go back to look at that budget. We heard about watching your expenses. We also have to have that plan. I mentioned the 50-30-20 rule, and see where our money is going and see what disposable income we have to play with. That will give us an idea as to whether or not we can fit in having a mortgage within our budget. Now, if it's not possible, two things can happen. We can either reduce some of the expenses. So 20% once, maybe we can reduce the want to as low as 5, if it's possible. Everyone is going to have a different budget. The other option is, even after doing so, and if it's still an unreachable goal, we could maybe then look at other options. I don't believe that a house will necessarily be the end game for owning a home. What I mean by that is the world is sort of changing, the markets are changing, there's globalization where we actually have a lot of foreign nationals coming into our territories. So you could own a home today as your base, your foundation, just the basic thing to help you accomplish your goal. But you can also look at selling it at some point in the future, getting some extra value on it because we know that the value of properties increase, and then use that to finance buying something more closer towards your actual goal. But if you realize it all starts at establishing that goal, and then you establish the gap, and then you can start putting some plans and actions in place to pursue it. And it's going to be a different situation for every one of us. We all have different budgets, different goals, different targets, but the key thing is the goal and the plan to follow. They say that a goal without a plan is just a wish. And I don't think we just want to have wishes, we want to have realizations of what we're thinking about. So that's the advice I would give. But one more thing, if you don't know, most banks actually ask for life insurance as a requirement for securing your mortgage. So that's something you also have to consider as well. I recently have had clients as young as 23 buying life insurance because they knew they were going to build a house at some point in the future, but they wanted to ensure that that requirement was in place so nothing could stop them when they reach that stage. So that's something that you have to consider as well.
So going on from that question, I now go to Javon, our very last question. So remember, if we haven't touched on a subject that you have a really need to find out, you can email us at sli_tt_marketing@sagicor.com. So that's Sagicor Life Inc., SLI_TT_marketing sagicor.com. So Javon, we're taking this last question over to you, and it kind of leads on from Brenton's. If you are paying for life insurance for mortgage purposes, upon completion of the mortgage, can the plan be used as a pension plan?
Oh, okay, good question.
Mhm.
So first we need to ascertain what type of life insurance policy this person has. So essentially there may be two types of life insurance. Keely would have touched on term insurance, and there is whole life insurance. I'll use the example of the whole life insurance. If the person had a whole life insurance policy and the bank held this in case they were to die to pay off the mortgage, and the mortgage is paid off now, they will relinquish the whole life insurance policy back to the client. Now, this policy would have been billed in cash value after maybe the 4th to 5th year of paying the policy. Now, when this client reaches an age of retirement, 60 or 65, they can use the cash value that was built up within the policy as a cash injection into the retirement. So easy maths. Their cash value at age 60 is $500,000. They can take this $500,000, cancel the life insurance policy. The kids are already grown. They don't need the life insurance payout no more. They take this $500,000 and they purchase something called an immediate annuity policy, which will give them a pension from the very next month. So that could only happen if it's a whole life insurance policy. So I hope that person's questions was answered.
And just in case they wasn't answered fully, or you need some clarification, or you're based in a different market where those rules may not be exactly the same, you can always email us. So if we didn't touch on your question or you want further information on that, because that's very interesting, send us an email to sli_tt_marketing@sagicor.com. It's in the chat, and I'm sure we're going to put it back in the chat again for you. So I want to say thank you right now to all of our panelists, and thank you to our audience for sharing all of those questions. They were really, really amazing questions. And this shows that many people are very interested in building that road to success, finding that happy road, and building a strong foundation for their future. So the poll is down, which means we've gotten to the fun part of the evening. Well, it was all fun, but the prize giving part of the evening. So we did promise you the opportunity to get your hands on 3 masterclass gift certificates for access to 6 months of the best in their field across a wide range of topics. We're going to do that prize giving at this time. So our 3 winners, when I announce your name, I ask you to please message in the chat, choose the message the panelists, so we can get your email addresses, so we can reach out to you directly. So our 3 winners, Erica Henry, Serlene Lawrence, Rachel De Ocampo. So again, our 3 winners for our 6 months masterclass gift certificate for the best in their field will be Erica Henry, Serlene Lawrence, Rachel De Ocampo. And please choose the chat function to message in the chat, choose panelists, so we can get your email addresses. So we have 2, oh yes, we have all 3. Thank you so much for sending us in your email addresses, and congratulations. And I hope you're excited for your 6 months of masterclass. And we hope it takes you one step closer to those goals and your happy road. I now hand over to Ms. Asha Nabi, Assistant Vice President, Marketing at Sagicor Life, Inc., to share our closing remarks and to end this evening's webinar.
So good evening, everyone. On behalf of all of us at Sagicor, thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed the session where we provided you with some tools that we hope that you take away and utilize as you try to build the life that you truly want. Now, we know it's not going to be easy because things hardly ever are, but we want you to work on it, take the tools away, and over time realign yourself so that you can have the best road possible. Now, all of this would not be in any way available to you if it weren't for the great speakers that we have today. So I'd like to start by recognizing Ms. Krystal Tomlinson. Krystal, I assure you after today, I'm going to go through my bag, check out anything that should not be there. So thank you so much for all your time today and all the great tips. We'd also like to recognize Mr. Donald Austin, Javon Falmeen, Caleb Welch, as well as Brenton Hilaire, who have guided us through the entire evening and given us, as I said before, all those goals or the ways to deal with them, the fact that you need to not only set goals, but break them out down into smaller goals in order for them to be more achievable so that you can get targeted in what you have to do. Now, this has been a very informative night. And for anyone who wants to continue the conversation, as Georgina would have spoken to earlier, we do have an email address that you can contact us with sli_tt_marketing@sagicor.com. So you can email us, and after this presentation, we will also be emailing you, so you have that on hand. For anyone who wants to take it a step further as well, you can also go to sagicor.com, where we have a free ebook where you can get all of your goals started with our personal money management booklet. So again, personal money management booklet, all available free online at sagicor.com. Now, it's been great having you. We've come to the end of this. On behalf of all of us at Sagicor, we wish you a happy road ahead. Thank you for joining us.